Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the Charles River Chamber webinar, Unlocking Marketing Success. Getting a sense to learn the 5 practical steps to boost your marketing results with our guest speaker, Karen Baldeschwieler, co-founder of Zenagos. Before we get started, I'd like to give a special thanks to our small business series underwriter, Needham Bank, and our series of sponsors, CMIT Solutions, and Source Services, William James College, for helping create program like this possible. And Cameron, thank you so much for being here. I think we're all dying to know what the 5 steps are. Without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to you.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for being here, and thank you for the introduction, Maxim. Let's see that everybody sees that slide. Good. I'm going to introduce the rest of the Zenagos team, but while I'm doing that, I hope that you will use the chat to tell us what you're marketing. Let us know what your primary product or service is and what it is that you find challenging about marketing. While you're doing that, I'm going to introduce us. So Zenagos is a consulting firm with a specialized offering that we call the CEO Trek. Our clients typically fall into one of 3 categories. First, we help the small business owner who's been running their company for a while, but their revenue has suddenly gone flat or declined. We typically work with them on tweaking their business model, refining or changing their marketing messages, and selecting and testing the best marketing channels. Secondly, we work with business owners who are overwhelmed. They're just in the middle of everything and they can't figure out even how to take a vacation. We work with them on building a sustaining company so they don't have to do everything and they might be able to sell their company someday. And then finally, we advise business owners who want to launch a new offering and they want to do it right the first time. Because small business owners can't predict what they need in advance, we're available 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday. And you don't need to make an appointment. You just ask your question on our private server and we respond in as close to real time as possible. And if we need a one-on-one Zoom meeting to cover specific topics, we just do that as needed. We use our library of resource videos, tools, and templates to close any gaps in our clients' business knowledge so they can make more informed decisions. And Zenagos consists of 4 Zenagos experts, and we're all here today. I'm Karen Baldeschwieler. My colleagues call me K14, so they don't have to pronounce my crazy 14-letter Swiss last name. The 4 of us have extensive marketing experience. Monica is the master of relationship-based business-to-business marketing. Her experience includes Charles River Laboratories and IBM, where she earned the IBM Main Service Award and was appointed to the Northeast Advisory Board. Stacy has advised branded companies, including Fidelity and Land's End, but she's spent the last 2 decades helping small businesses to improve digital marketing and automation. Mavis has sold massive e-commerce technology deals to companies like Walmart and Nestle. She's the wizard of partnership marketing strategies, sales, and negotiation. And my experience includes building digital marketing strategies with universities like Tulane, University of Kansas, and the College of William and Mary. I always take a financial approach, so I build revenue plans with tactical marketing activities. So we have a lot of experience working with big companies, but what we're most proud of is that we've started 17 small businesses between us. We've each been a solopreneur at least once in our lives, and we know how hard it is to find one customer to buy your offering. So we're thrilled to be here today to have an opportunity to share with and learn from you. First, a few housekeeping items. Please do feel free to engage in the chat. Mavis, Stacy, and Monica will be answering questions there on the fly when that's practical. I'm going to ask the group some questions also to answer in the chat. So make sure the little blue box in the window says meeting group chat so that we can all see one another's answers. At the end of the presentation, we're going to take questions with whatever time we have. So please feel free to play Stump the Wizard and ask your challenging marketing questions. And if you want to connect with one or more of us on LinkedIn, please do. Stacy's going to post our LinkedIn profile links in the chat right now. When you connect, please make sure to say that you were at the Charles River Chamber of Commerce webinar. That way we will accept your invitation. Also, we've got 3 awesome free handouts for you today, including summary slides. We're going to put up a QR code and a link for those at the end of the webinar, so you don't need to worry about taking notes or screenshots while we're going. You can just enjoy the webinar. By the end of the session, you're going to be able to identify the difference between marketing and sales, explain why it's important to narrow your audience and embrace polarity, describe exactly how to test a marketing channel before investing in it, calculate your customer acquisition cost, or CAC, and track and evaluate your marketing results. We're going to accomplish all that by covering 5 practical steps that you can start using today for boosting your marketing results. First, let's get aligned on some language. When people talk about sales and marketing, they're usually referring to the customer journey. Marketing people also call this a sales funnel or a marketing funnel. That's because we have to talk with a lot of people in the early stages at the top of the funnel, and we work down to a small number of people who actually buy. So it's large at the top and small at the bottom, like a funnel. You've also almost certainly heard the marketing terms for the stages in the funnel. So an impression is something that creates awareness of your product. For example, when you see an advertisement for an iPhone, that counts as 1 impression. Impressions are a little bit hard to count since nobody's really certain what you saw. So if you drive by a billboard, is that an impression? If you didn't look at it, it's a really good question. A lead is someone for whom you have a name and contact information. So you know who they are and you have a way of contacting them. So someone who looks at your website is not a lead. Someone who goes to your website and gives you an email address to sign up for your newsletter is a lead because you have that contact information. People often use the words sales and marketing interchangeably, or they mash them together like sales and marketing. But we make a distinction. So we use the word marketing to refer to anything you do to get new leads. We call the conversation that you have with those leads sales. So Zenagos does a couple of popular webinars about sales. If you're interested in getting free help with sales, sign up for our newsletter, which includes all our free webinars. Stacy's going to paste a newsletter sign up link in the chat too, so you can grab it. And right now, I hope that you're noticing that I have magically transformed my webinar about marketing into some actual marketing for Zenagos. You can do this too. Okay, so today we're going to hone in on just marketing. How do we get new prospective customers or leads? We work with small business owners every day, and we're going to share some secrets with you. Here are 5 practical steps you can take to boost your marketing results. 5 keys that you can use right away. Key number 1, narrow your target audience in order to create raving fans. Here's an example from one of our clients. So she was creating her marketing for women who want shoes, but nobody was responding to her marketing. And we told her, your market is way too broad. Instead of women who want shoes, we encouraged her to lean in on a narrower audience of professional women over 50 who have foot pain. These women need shoes that look professional, but that they can work in all day. These women value a shoe store that has a really good inventory and salespeople who can provide great advice about foot pain. So our client took our advice, and now she writes articles about foot pain and advertises on Facebook, where there are a lot of women over 50, and she's getting a whole lot more traction in her shoe store. Now, if you're like most entrepreneurs, you don't like narrowing your marketing message because you don't want to close off any potential market. You just want to show the welcome sign to everyone, and we get it. When you need more business, you feel like you can be whatever your client wants you to be. When we ask new clients to tell us what they offer, they often say something like, well, we do everything, but I've been told not to say that. You might also have heard that it's better to have had 100 rabid fans instead of 10,000 casual followers. Why? Because when you try to be all things to all people, then nobody feels really strongly about you and your service. So your marketing results will look like the casual interest funnel here on the left. There may be a very large group of people who become aware of your offering and become mildly interested. However, because they don't feel strongly about you, they're a lot less likely to really consider and commit. This isn't great because it means that you have to talk to a whole lot of people who aren't very interested. However, if you narrow your target audience, your marketing looks more like this fanatic funnel on the right. The targeted group will feel like they belong, that this offering is really for them. So you'll talk to fewer people, and the ones you talk to will be really interested and more likely to buy. So think of it this way. If you had the perfect marketing plan, then you would only talk to people who were really interested, and every person you talk to would become a customer. That would be perfect, efficient marketing. So everything's easier when you have raising fans. True fans will buy pretty much anything you offer them. They'll tell all of their friends about your offerings so that you'll get more referrals, and those are free leads. And narrowing your marketing creates this virtuous cycle, making your business less expensive and more fun to run. When you narrow your target market, you do create polarity. Some people will really love your message and lean into it, but other people may be turned off, so they may turn away. So for example, all three of the people on this slide have crazed and rabid fans, and they also have some people who utterly despise them. That's maximum polarity. You may be uncomfortable with the idea that some people won't be interested in what you have to offer. However, if you embrace polarity, you will have to grind through a lot fewer sales conversations, and it may even be easier to genuinely be yourself. And narrowing your target market doesn't mean that you won't serve people who don't fit the target. You can serve any customer who comes your way. It just means that your marketing messages will be directed at the narrower group. So for example, Subaru discovered that 70% of its customers had dogs. So now they really lean into the dog marketing. But that doesn't mean they're not going to sell you a car if you don't have a dog. So hopefully you believe us by now that for purposes of marketing, you should narrow your audience. When you do select a narrow audience, then it's also a little easier to choose the marketing message that the audience wants to hear. You do need to choose the right lure for the fish that you want. So right about now, you're wondering how. At Zenagos, we're all about how. If you're ready to consider narrowing your target audience, then the best way to figure out how is to interview potential customers. So for some reason, our clients resist talking to potential customers, but it's the one sure way to learn who really wants your offering and what messages they like to hear. We talked to an accelerator this week, and they said that they have each of their participant companies interview 100 potential customers during their accelerator program. My experience is whatever you hear from the first 20 customers is pretty much what you're going to hear. So do at least 20 interviews. For example, if you think your narrowed target might be women over the age of 60, tell your friends that you're looking for some women over the age of 60 who would be willing to do a 20-minute interview. When you do meet with one of these potential customers, don't try to sell them anything. Just ask them what they want from your kind of service, what would really delight them, share ideas about your service, ask for their advice. What should you name it? What messages really appeal to them? People love to be asked for their opinion. They don't love to be sold to, but they love to be asked their opinion. At the end of the interview, then ask them if they know anyone else who'd be willing to talk to you that's in that demographic. And with luck, they'll give you at least 2 people. Afterwards, send them a nice thank you note and a small gift card. And if your conversations go well, you're going to know there's a market and you'll have an idea for what potential messages to use. And the best part is the people you interview will feel connected to you and your project. They'll feel proprietary. So if you keep telling them about your progress as you go, there's a good chance that they will become customers later. So for that reason, we call these interviews a stealth marketing technique. Whew, all right, that was key number 1. All right, key number 2, try to develop at least 3 marketing channels. So marketing channel is just a fancy term for anything you do to get the word out about your business. There are many potential marketing channels. Take a minute right now in the chat to just tell us what marketing channels you're using right now. I'm just going to give you a little while to tell me what kind of marketing channels are you using today? Nobody's doing any marketing. There we go. Word of mouth, website, Facebook, Instagram, direct mail. Excellent. Excellent. We have lots of different channels that you're using. Outstanding. Constant contact, email. Okay, great, great. We have a lot of variety in the kind of marketing that you're using right now. At Zenagos, we divide small business marketing into 4 categories. So the first one is personal marketing, which is things that you do yourself as the entrepreneur to get the word out. So the top of that category, the most common small business marketing channel by far is networking. And networking is usually the best marketing channel for small business, at least in the beginning. Networking is the fastest channel to mark up. All you have to do is talk to somebody and you can have a new customer today. In contrast, an advertising channel develops slowly and could take, up to a year before you really get it working well for you. Networking has the lowest customer acquisition cost, or CAC. Talk about CAC in a couple of minutes. For now, we can say the only real cost of networking is your time. And if you don't have enough customers yet, then you do have some time. Finally, networking is the most efficient marketing channel. Remember that perfect marketing funnel where you only talk to people who are interested and every person you talk to becomes a customer? Networking gets you the closest to that because it's the channel with the highest level of trust. So people already know you when they come through a friend. They're predisposed to trust you. So this is more efficient. You'll talk to fewer people to win each new customer. Just a reminder, if you request our free takeaway PDF, it includes some great networking tips. However, if you only rely on your existing network as your marketing channel, then you're eventually going to hit the wall. This is a pattern we see often with small business owners. They launch their company with networking, which is a great choice. They may get started even really quickly. They get to a level where they're pretty comfortable, and they may even be really busy and happy with their level of income and even stop all their marketing efforts. But that's a mistake because it takes time to build a new marketing channel. So the green line on this chart represents the time that it takes to build an advertising channel, a non-networking channel. It can take 6 to 18 months to really get it working. And we'll talk about that when we get into the testing. So if you're feeling really good about how busy you are, that's the perfect time to start developing a new marketing channel. I know you're busy, but have that discipline to get in there and start a new channel. We have a few clients who are video producers and editors in Chicago. And when they started their businesses several years ago, it was really easy to get work. They could just fill up their time with networking and referrals. And so they never developed any real marketing channels. And then for some reason, a little over a year ago, the video work in Chicago just dried up. Maybe it's a domino effect from the writer's strike of the pandemic. We don't really know. But we've been working with them to build up marketing channels so they'll never get caught again without a source of new leads. That's why you want to have at least 3 sources of leads. Even if you have one that's working really well, that's the time to be developing the next one. Our second category is digital marketing, like placing ads on LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, Bing, TikTok, Instagram. I saw a few of those in your answers. This can work for some businesses, but you need to make sure that you choose the platform that has the right demographic as your narrowed target audience, right? So the right lure for the right fish. So for example, if you want to reach an older audience, you might use Facebook, but you probably wouldn't use TikTok, which has a much younger demographic. The TikTok demographic we're finding with our customers is actually a little older than the news says it is, maybe up to 30, but it's not 50 or 60. You also need to test before you invest because you can blow a lot of money really quickly in digital marketing. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. Our third category is content marketing, which is when you get people's attention by creating content that really interests them. So we talked about our shoe store owner and how she was writing blog posts about foot pain and how one can select shoes that help. That's an example of content marketing. And finally, our fourth category is traditional marketing, which is when you use marketing methods that have been around for decades. So some of these are still great for small business. For example, direct mail can still be very effective for certain local services like, tree trimmers and plumbers and things like that. Okay. So now that you've been thinking about marketing channels for a few minutes, tell us in the chat, what new channel would you be interested in trying that you haven't tried yet? TikTok. I just want to make a silly TikTok dance video personally. I just, I have to get that out of my system. I haven't done it yet. Yeah, content marketing can be very time consuming, but can also be effective depending on your field. Instagram, again, very effective depending on your field. We know one small business consultant who says you should have 10 marketing channels going if you want to have a sustainable business. Now, in our experience, that's a lot, but you should try to build up at least three reliable sources of new leads, 3 ways of getting new customers. And then if one suddenly dries up, you still have a couple of backups. So for example, in April 2021, Apple introduced a new feature called App Tracking Transparency on the iPhone. And basically, it said that iPhone users would have to check a box to allow companies to track them on apps on the phone. When this feature went into effect, it killed Facebook's ability to produce leads for small business. And businesses that had been getting leads steadily from Facebook for years suddenly got no leads at all, just disappeared. So even if your lead source is awesome right now, you can't count on that forever. So you need to be working on a couple of backup channels. All right, that was number 2. Key number 3, test before you invest. It takes patience to build a marketing channel slowly, but that's the way you have to do it. So some of our clients come to us after blowing thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars on advertising that brought them no customers. 0 customers. So don't let that be you. You can spend a lot on marketing in a short period of time, especially online. So to protect yourself, start with a small amount of money. For example, if you want to try advertising on Google, spend just like $5 to $20 a day, just enough to see if you got some clicks. If you don't get clicks, don't spend more money. Instead, keep changing your ad. So you want to get at least a 2% click-through rate before you start spending more. If you are seeing some clicks and you're getting that 2% click-through rate, then try spending a little more to see if you can get some conversions. So conversion is whatever your call to action is. If you want prospects to download a coupon, then you want to see coupon downloads. If you want them to make an appointment for a consultation, then you want to see some new appointments. If you don't get these downloads, these appointments, these conversions, don't spend more money. Instead, keep changing your website. So you keep changing your ad until you get 2% click through. Now keep changing your website until you get 2% conversion. Change the images, make the messages simpler and more appealing. Once again, 2% website conversion rate. So if you don't like math, that's okay. 2% means 1 in 50. So if you're not getting 1 coupon or 1 appointment for every 50 clicks, then don't spend a larger amount. Keep tweaking until you're getting 1 in 50. This takes patience. It helps to have an expected marketing funnel in mind. So for example, if I'm shooting for a 2% click-through rate and a 2% website conversion rate, then I won't expect to see any appointments scheduled until I've had at least 5,000 impressions and 100 clicks. So again, for those who don't like math, just remember that you need to get at least 100 clicks before deciding that your channel isn't working. So once you have that 2% click-through and that 2% website conversion, then spend more. So you should be spending a small amount, like, $5 a day, $10 a day, whatever is relevant for your field. But you get that 2%, that should be your clue that you can spend a little bit more. Now see if you can get actual appointments, actual customers. Once you do start getting customers, then you'll be able to calculate the cost of your marketing channel. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So this testing process is critical if you don't want to overspend on marketing. At Zenagos, we call this testing process the direct marketing cycle. And if you download our free PDF takeaway, you can get a detailed cheat sheet telling you exactly how to do it, just like I was talking about today, but just a little bit more detail. You can make your business a sustainable source of income, but you need to be methodical and patient in testing your marketing channels. And you can do it. We know because we have helped others do it, and you are every bit as capable as they are. Believe me. All right. Key number 4. Know your customer acquisition cost, or CAC. I just like saying CAC because I think it sounds funny. Clients often ask us, how do I know if my marketing is working? In order to know what's working, you need to measure your results. You need to know where to put your money, how to place your bets. And in order to do that, you need to compare your marketing channels. So customer acquisition cost is a simple equation that you can do with a calculator that helps you compare your marketing channels. It tells you where you should spend more money because that channel works well, and where you should spend less money because that channel isn't quite as good a deal. So for example, let's say that my marketing plan is to spend $50 a month on networking events, $200 a month on conferences, and $100 a month on email campaigns. So I'm going to spend a total of $350 a month. I want to know what the customer acquisition cost, or CAC, is for each channel. That is, what does it cost me to get 1 new customer using that channel? So to do the math, take how much you spend in a month for that channel and divide by how many new customers you got in a month for that channel. So for example, let's say I spent $50 in networking in May, and I won 5 new customers in May. Then my customer acquisition cost, or CAC, is 50 divided by 5, or $10 per new customer. Likewise, if I spend $200 on conferences in May and I got 1 new customer in May, then my customer acquisition cost, or CAC, is 200 divided by 1, $200 per new customer. It only takes a few minutes to calculate your CACs, and then I can compare the channels and make decisions about how to spend my precious marketing dollars. So in my example, the networking channel is the best deal, and it often is. It's only $10 a customer, but I can only do so much networking. So I might add some email campaigns. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're still a really good price. Conferences aren't as good a deal. And actually we often see, like $4,000 a customer or $5,000 a customer for people who go to conferences and do a booth. So they're not as great a deal, but I still might choose to go to some conferences to get more visibility and build a backup channel. And Monica will tell you, don't do the booth, walk around and meet people. So sort of turn your conferences into networking. As an aside, you can also calculate cost per lead the same way. So total marketing spend divided by the number of leads that you got. So some channels have a great cost per lead, but then those leads may not be equally easy to convert into customers. So it's really good to look at both numbers. Like in this example, networking costs a little more per lead, but to get the total customer, the conversion of each lead is a little easier because people trust you. So it's actually a better deal overall, but it's good to know both. Now, if you're mathematically inclined right now, you may have all kinds of questions about how to calculate CAC. So it's a simple calculation, but you could make it much more complicated if you wanted to. So for example, you could try to trace the customers that you got back to the original campaigns. Big companies will attach tracking codes to their online ad URLs and then pull that data into a CRM like Salesforce. And this will enable them to tie every sale back to its original marketing campaign and calculate customer acquisition cost to the penny and sales cycle to the minute. And if you have that kind of technology, that's awesome. But don't spend your precious dollars on that unless you have to. Most small businesses can learn enough by taking last month's marketing and just dividing it by last month's new customers, as long as you're doing something steady in your marketing. It didn't, just do it once and then stop. But if you steadily do the same thing every month, this calculation is fine for every small business. Keep it simple. Just take 15 minutes to do this once a month, and you're going to become a much more powerful business person. On that note, we are burning through these keys so that we can get to the Q&A at the end. On that note, key number 5, make a monthly appointment with yourself to track your results. You're going to get really busy and you're going to be tempted to break your appointment with yourself, but don't. If you just spend a few minutes a month tracking your results, you're going to learn a lot. I'm showing you here a Google sheet that you can use, and I'm going to go ahead and put the link for this sheet right into the chat. If you have a Google account, then you can just click on this link and the sheet can copy right into your Google account. It usually appears at the top level where it says My Drive. So if you want to copy that, you can just click on that and it'll say, do you want to copy this into your drive? You can use this sheet as your calculator starting right now. Important note, only change the yellow cells. If you change the other ones, you'll break the formulas and then you'll just need to copy a new sheet again. So hang on to the URL in case you want to copy it again. As you're tracking, see if you can figure out your sales cycle. That is, how long is the average time between when you first start that marketing channel and when you get your first customer. So remember that chart early on with the slow developing green line that was kind of, rising up slowly? It takes time to build a new marketing channel. So in this example, I'm looking at a networking channel. I did my first networking in April, and then I got my first customer in July. So that means that my sales cycle is about 3 months. It's good to know your sales cycle because that tells you how quickly your business can turn. It tells you how much lead time you need in your marketing. So if my sales cycle is 3 months, then, I have to think anything I want to happen 3 months from now, I have to start now. So this lets you place your sales in specific months, giving you more predictable revenue. Once I've tested my marketing channel and gotten it going and I understand how it works, if I want a lot of new customers right after Labor Day, then the latest I can start my big networking push is 3 months before Labor Day, right? So when you get to that point where you need predictable revenue, you need to understand your sales cycle. You need to understand, some people have like an 18-month sales cycle. My last business had a 2 to 3 year sales cycle. And so you need to know how much time it takes to get that new channel going. You should probably even start a little sooner just to make sure that you get time to adjust to what you learn. Really often clients ask us what the best marketing channel is, and the answer, of course, is it depends. It depends on what you're selling, who your customer is, where you are in the country, and so on. But for a company that wants to grow, the best channel is one where you can add water. And what I mean by that is that the channel's funnel behaves the same way when you spend more money. So in this example, let's say I spend $500 and I get one customer. If it's an add water channel, then if I double that, I should get two customers. So if I went from $500 to $1,000, then I would get around two customers. And if I did it times 10, then I should get 10 times as many customers or 20 customers. So that's an add water channel. So which one of these channels could potentially be add water channels? Still thinking about it, I can tell. Radio is absolutely an add water channel. So because any channel that has a really big audience is an add water channel, right? If I do a little of it, I get some, and if I do more, I get more, and there's a lot of potential for it to grow. So like, what's not an add water channel? Networking is it's really hard to make networking an add water channel because you run out of time that you can network, right? How much networking can you do? And so unless you start hiring other people to do networking, or you have a really systematic way of networking, which some people do, networking is not as easily an add water channel. Events aren't an add water channel. How many events can you go to? Right. And so the add water channels are the ones where you could spend more money more easily. And so if you can develop some add water channels in addition to whatever it is that initially got your business going for you, that will strengthen your background. It'll strengthen the sustainability of your business. There's some nuance to this. If your business has limited capacity, then maybe any channel is good enough. At Zenagos, we're consultants and we have limited time. And so we have a capacity. Once we have all the clients we could have, then it doesn't really matter what the best marketing channel would be unless we want to hire more consultants, which we don't. So if you only have so much time in the day, you just can't add water with any channel that requires your personal time. Speaking engagements, trade show booths, similar kinds of limitation. Blog posts, depends on, how many channels you really have to put your blog posts into. Okay. So that concludes our formal presentation. As a reminder, here's a summary of the 5 keys to small business marketing success that we covered today. So you can grab this QR code if you want those 3 handouts. So the first one is the networking tips handout. The second one is on the direct marketing cycle and how you can build up a channel slowly using that methodology. And then the third one is just a summary of some of the slides from today, so that you have the 5 keys and, kind of the key things that we talked about today. So if you want those, go ahead and grab that QR code. Stacy has also put the link in the chat in case that's easier for you. Maybe like getting your phone, looking at the screen isn't easy. So, feel free to just grab that link out of the chat. That'll take you to the same place. And it'll just send you an email with a link so that you can, download. There's also an option to subscribe to our newsletter, and I hope you'll do that. It only comes once a month. We won't send you anything else. And it always includes all of our upcoming free webinars, so that if you wanted to go to some of our sales webinars, you should, get that and, watch out for our upcoming free sales webinars. So now, thank you, everyone, for spending some of your valuable time today with us. And we're going to stop the presentation and open up for Q&A. So I hope you have some great questions. If you have a question, just go ahead and raise your hand. All right.
Looks like
Carol,
Carol.
I think you need to unmute.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't sure if you wanted the electronic ones. I figured, well, there you go, right in the screen.
The
Uh,
hand one works too.
Hi. Yes, I'm Carol Alpert. I have a question about uh, the direct marketing with email. I was chatting a little bit, and thank you for indulging me in the chat. Um, I've I've heard, because when you send out a bunch of emails, many on the other side, the recipients, put you into junk, into spam, or whatever. I did go onto one workshop where they said, well, if you fill out the info card or whatever, then it definitely goes to someone, and then you can request the department. I'm a voiceover talent. I do e-learning, narration, etc. So I would, whoever does the training or media or whatever, is that something that you think is a good idea as well, as opposed to maybe directly emailing them?
Well, Monica was nodding her head, so I'll let her take first crack.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think Stacy and I both were communicating back and forth with Carol. So
Thank you for
Stacy,
that.
feel free to, yeah, absolutely. So on part of it was that, yes, some of those will actually go into spam.
Right,
Okay. Also know that Google also has some things in place
right.
that will cause things to have some limitations, right, in terms of your emails. Filling out their form, it's almost like they're inviting you versus you're having to chase them. So if they're inviting you, go on and fill out their form, and then you can ask them who it is that you should speak with.
Okay.
But I think one of the things that when you do that, you want to show genuine interest in them first
Sure.
before all
Yeah.
of that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
start building that relationship
Right.
first. So Stacy, you have more?
Yeah, I was going to say, so often if you look on people's websites, sometimes they'll have a direct email for media contact or whatever sort of contact. So in addition to filling out that contact form on their website, which will absolutely go to them, you might want to look for additional emails. And honestly, I know people who have set up those email forms and then they had turnover or something happened. And so those emails are not getting reviewed on a regular basis. So that's why I'm suggesting that you find additional emails on their website if you can for contacts and just say, hey, I filled out the form. I'm looking to blah, blah, blah. As Monica said, explain why you're interested in their company. And try multiple channels because you never know what happens to an email. Honestly.
And I like LinkedIn too, finding them on LinkedIn and trying to message with them and so forth as
Absolutely.
well. So,
Yeah. I agree. But I think I was asking because I do them in concert really. And, like I do medical narration. So I'm, pulling up all of the societies and the associations. And I just don't mind doing it. I want to make sure that I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to take the next one. So
Thank
Emily.
you. Appreciate it.
Director of the New Arts Center in Newtonville. We're a almost 50-year-old nonprofit with pretty deep marketing channels, but we're asking ourselves, how do we increase our audience? How do we build new audience? So I had a question about the CAC calculations, which is, it seemed to be that the way you were calculating it was for new customers. And I'm wondering how you use that for repeat customers, because many of our customers sign up, multiple times a year. So I'm curious about that allocation. And then I was also curious how you allocate staff or consulting costs, other direct costs that have a bottom line towards the marketing. How do you calculate those into your CAC?
Sure. So yeah, CAC is ultimately about new customers. And how you count repeat customers, you can have really fun with math and get very nerdy about the whole thing. But usually I count repeat customers as free. And so, if you really want to understand them, you kind of think of them as lifetime customer value. Like, what's the average number of times that somebody repeats, or what's the average number of months that somebody stays? and kind of think about that as their lifetime customer value, as opposed to getting it tangled up in the customer acquisition cost, because customer acquisition cost is ultimately about getting new customers. But again, it depends on what you're trying to learn. So, calculate it the way that makes sense in your brain, and and learn what you're trying to learn from it. So, it's not a hard and fast rule. And then the second question was about direct costs. So kudos to you for being smart enough to be thinking about your marketing costs and your direct costs, because most people just look at it the way that you look at an accounting sheet, which is, what are the costs that go directly into serving my product? If I'm selling chairs, the 4 legs, the back, the seat, those are my direct costs. But the marketing costs are the most important variable costs that you have. And so I put them on a separate line. I don't put them up with the rest of the direct costs, but I calculate a direct cost after a variable cost after marketing. So I try to understand, what's it costing me to acquire one customer, and build that in to see if my business is really a business. So my favorite game is it a business? And when I play, is it a business? It's, what's my revenue per customer? What's my direct cost per customer? And then what is my acquisition cost? And I divide that by their average length of stay, or their lifetime customer value. So if you want to nerd it up, link with me on LinkedIn, and we can nerd. It'll be fun.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I had another hand that was up, and I think that is, one moment, please. My window just ducked out. Andrea, go right ahead.
Hi, yes. I am with a luxury level residential interior design firm, and we have historically gotten most of our business through referrals and repeat customers. And so we're having a hard time assessing the value of other forms of marketing, for example, social media posts, print ads, digital little websites on design industry, Boston Design Guide, for example, because we always ask people that come in the door, how did you hear about us? And most of the time they can't give us, they're like, oh, or it's, I think I saw you in a magazine, but no one's going to become one of our customers just from seeing an Instagram post, for example, because the amount of money they're spending is so much. So just wondering how you sort of assess those for our type of business.
Well, Mavis, are you feeling this one?
Sure, I'll give it a try. So it sounds like you're generating a fair amount of awareness through these other channels, but awareness is historically hard to measure unless you specifically go out and say, have you ever, run a survey and say, have you ever heard of us? How did you hear about us? So I think the question is, if you're trying to get new customers through these channels, as opposed to just generating awareness, then these channels need, like your Instagram posts, articles are a little bit harder, but in an Instagram post, you'd want a call to action. So you want them to go to your website, right? And you can start measuring these clicks to your site. In an article, you might say, if you're going to write an article about us in a luxury design magazine, we want you to put this contact name. We want you to put this email address, so that you can start seeing the path through. And then if no one clicks on your Instagram, as it's in the example Karen gave in the presentation, then you need to start changing the Instagram, right? If no one's following, if no one's showing interest, and eventually you will see people click on your Instagram and go to your website, and then you're like, oh, we have something in here. And if you're not seeing any of that, that means you need to start tweaking whatever it is you're showing, whether it's video or photo or whatever the call is to action.
And it is amazing. We have, customers who have, very concrete services like, massage therapy, and they will put up all kinds of things on Instagram, get nothing. And then, the simplest ad that you would never think will suddenly lead to a stream of customers walking in the door. So you just have to tweak until you find what that is. Okay, other questions? Did you have questions about what I said in the webinar, or anything that, like that you learned that you thought was especially interesting? You've got 4 Zenagos experts here. You can ask us anything.
Everybody's shy. Or Karen, you explained so much, nobody has any questions about what you said.
I have stunned you with my brilliance today.
You always astound me.
I guess before people leave, what is one takeaway do you want everyone to walk away, or one action item people should do in terms of their marketing plans?
I'm gonna point that one at Mavis.
I think it was a question for everyone, right? What are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
Well, so, of the 5 tips, I think the most important one is track what you're doing. Right? That, it seems so simple, but we don't do it as entrepreneurs. Last time I was a solo entrepreneur, I just remember thinking, oh yeah, I should really track that. And I just never did it. And you learn so much so quickly. And so I'd say that's, of the 5, that's the one that I think is key.
The one thing I always tell everybody, and those fellow Zenagites would confirm, is that really understanding who your target market is and squishing it, making it as small as possible, and then matching your marketing channel to that target. Karen talked about, the Instagram with the age group matching, the same thing, anything with Facebook and all of those. You need to know who your target is and make sure that you match that channel up appropriately to make it most effective.
It's the hardest one to do, by the way. You just fight with yourself or your partners all day long about, let's make this narrower, let's make this narrower. And everyone and your partner will be like, no, we need to serve more people.
Not that Mavis is talking about this from experience or anything.
Right. At Zenagos, there's 4 female co-founders, as you can see. And so we talk about, like, should we just target women as our market? And, some of us say yes and some of us say no. And I get to do our marketing now, so I really get to decide. I spend a lot of time, focused on female entrepreneurs. But that doesn't mean if a male entrepreneur were to approach us and ask us about our services, that I don't answer his questions or that we don't take him as a client.
Right.
So,
we have fantastic male entrepreneur clients. So,
yeah,
it doesn't mean that we don't serve that audience. It's just, how are you putting out your marketing? How are you attracting new customers? Yeah. Monica, any closing words?
It is my hope that you will connect with us on LinkedIn if you have additional questions. When it comes down to helping, that's our sweet spot. We like to help. That's why we're doing what we're doing. No question is off limits when it comes down to business and so forth, and how we can help you grow. So we at Zenagos, we hope that you have found something that you can take away and apply to your business today, and also stay connected with us. We love to hear, how things are going, with you.
And Mavis and I turn up at a number of events. So if you want to chase us down and meet us in person, please feel free.
Yeah, Coffee Connection, and Stacy's definitely going to the summer event. She just volunteered.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
One last thing real quick, Andrea, if you can connect with me on LinkedIn, I have an introduction already for you in hopes to help you. Okay. So connect with me.
All right. If you have any last comments for us, please, please let us know if there was something in the webinar that you really liked or that you thought was confusing.
Was that you, Stephen?
Sorry, I realized that I was on mute before, but I'm curious as far as like Duck Soup or other LinkedIn type things. Is that something that you typically recommend for your clients, or do you have another one, or are you familiar with Duck Soup?
Not familiar with Duck Soup. Are you guys? Is that like Chat Flow or Flow Chat? Is it like one of those?
I'm not the marketing guy, so I don't know.
Okay.
but basically what it is it does a lot of LinkedIn automation. And so basically, for example, if I have my Sales Navigator or my LinkedIn and I come up with a list of people, it will scan those and then automate. For example, if I want to go to somebody's profile, which obviously indicates that they see that I've gone to their profile, and then you can have it automate that, for example, 2 hours later, that it would do a follow. And then you can even from there automate that it would send out, for example, a connection request, 6 hours later, and then follow up. And it really automates a lot of that process. So basically while I'm sleeping, I'm getting LinkedIn connects that then of course I can very quickly push into my wine business or, some of the other things that I'm doing as well.
We have a client who uses a similar tool called Flow Chat.
Okay.
And is doing very well with it. Now he sells social media marketing, and so it's a tool that does social media marketing, and so it very much aligns with what he's doing. So it might not work for everybody, but he, like you, is experiencing a lot of success with basically automating social media DMs.
Yeah.
And so he, I think, does LinkedIn also, but he's using a lot of Instagram and yeah, and so that is a channel, it's a new channel, and I think that it's a channel that can work well depending on your business.
Great. If Zenagos ever wants custom label wines to hand out to your VIP entrepreneurs, just let me know. I'm happy to mock something up.
Link us on LinkedIn.
I have. Cool.
Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Karen, Monica, Stacy, and Mavis, and everyone who joined us. I'll send the recording along with that link to the newsletter and all the handouts. But enjoy your lunch and have a great day.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.